Move this way a little bit for me, Omar. That's it, that's it. When you're ready, Omar. Nabda. Okay.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man sara sabilihi ila yawmiddin, amma ba'd. So tonight, inshallah, we will continue discussing the book Mukhtasar Sahih Bukhari by Al-Zabidi rahimahullah. And from the last discussion that we had, the last lesson that we had, that we're discussing concerning matters relating to Kitab al-Wudu, where Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, that he mentioned a hadith relating to kayfiyat, how to perform wudu, and also matters that relates to wudu regarding things that nullify the wudu. So in the last discussion we had discussed concerning matters that relates to al-mas'ala khuffayn, regarding the discussion regarding wiping over the socks. So discuss concerning that the aqwal of the ulama on this particular topic, as this of those topics that are somewhat discussed from the ulama of old and also still being discussed. And especially when we find concerning the matter regarding what they refer to as matters regarding concerning the khuffayn, regarding, as the hadith mentioned, regarding al-khuffayn, that the leather socks, that the permissibility of wiping over this and the ahkam that relates to this. Then the next discussion regarding what we refer to as cotton socks. Are we allowed to wipe over these socks? And we discussed concerning a hadith that relates to concerning wiping over concerning the socks, that those hadith that they are on the discussion, those hadith that they are on the discussion between the ulama of hadith. So that's concerning that discussion, and also from the hadith that also they gave certain condition regarding that the person, that this is something which is allowed regarding a person wiping over is khuf. There's certain condition regarding when the person can start, and also at what and when the person end this concession that is given within the Sharia, and a part of the Taysir of Islam that this matter have been legislated. So that inshallah ta'ala, that will now go to the next chapter that he discusses concerning other matter pertaining to matters relating to al-wudu. Naam.
Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Qala ma'allif, rahimahullah, chapter 38, not repeating ablution after eating mutton, and as-sawiq. Hadith number 157, narrated by Amr ibn Umayyah radiyallahu anhu. I saw Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam taking a piece of cooked mutton from shoulder region, and then he was called for as-salah. He put his knife down and offered as-salah without repeating ablution. Chapter 39, rinsing one's mouth with water after eating.
That's a separate chapter?
No.
Okay, so what is the first one? So I mentioned regarding concerning of those matters that is discussed concerning of the ahkam that relates to wudu, as he mentioned concerning man yatawadda min lahm ashah wa sawiq. So I discussing concerning of those ahkam that relates to al-wudu, that as we mentioned at Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, that he discussed concerning matters regarding al-wudu, things that relates to tahara, and also matter that relates to wudu in particular. So of those things that are covered within this particular book, and also between the ulama regarding concerning of those things that are considered to be nawaqil al-wudu, those things that invalidate a person's wudu, so those things that will break the person's wudu. So of those things that are discussed concerning that eating of cooked meat. So eating of cooked meat, does this nullifies one wudu? So Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, so he mentioned here regarding this discussion regarding eating of meat, does it invalidate the person's wudu, and does the person need to make wudu? And as mentioned before regarding concerning of the ahkam of Islam, that it went through stages. So regarding some of the ahkam of Islam, it went through stages. So of those things regarding concerning of of those matters that pertains to wudu. So initially regarding concerning that things that were touched or cooked, then wudu would be performed. Then after that rule was abrogated. So this fell into something that used to be a practice, but then this practice was abrogated, and and here they're trying to establish regarding what became the final act to be done, which is, as mentioned, that the Prophet ﷺ, regarding the hadith of Amr ibn Umayyah, regarding concerning that he saw the Prophet, the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regarding concerning that, eating of concerning that shat, regarding concerning, they said mutting, eating of meat that was cooked. Then it mentioned فَدُعِيَ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ, that he was called to salat. فَأَلْقَى سَكِينٌ, a sikin, that also that he put down is the utensil concerning the knife. فَصَلَّى وَلَمْ يَتَوَضَّى, and that he prayed and did not repeat his wudu. So from this, that author is trying to prove the point regarding, or that matter regarding, within this eating of cooked meat, it does not require for the person to renew his wudu. As this became the last and final practice that the Prophet ﷺ was upon, where he did not repeat his wudu for eating of cooked meat. So from the hadith it shows regarding that this is something that was abrogated, and also it shows regarding concerning this matter that when I mentioned فَدُعِيَ لِلصَّلَاةِ, that when he heard the call for the salat, then he, as mentioned, فَأَلْقَى سِكِّينٌ, that he put the utensil, the knife down, and he went and prayed. فَصَلَّى وَلَمْ يَتَوَضَّى. So it shows regarding that he salam, that he gave concerning importance to salah. So even concerning that while he was eating, but he heard the call for the salah, then he put those things away and he went towards the salah. So it shows concerning the importance of salah. So regarding concerning the person regarding of this matter, that regarding concerning that eating and the salat is called, then for the person to make a judgment, regarding that to discontinue to eat and to go for the salat. Also from this hadith it shows that Islam, that concerning sikin, that also he used concerning that at not all times he will use just his hands to eat, or at some that he will use his hands, but at times he may use let's say utensils to eat. So this can mention sikin. So show that Islam use other things regarding, we said, with a knife or fork and those type of things to eat with. So they show the permissibility of this act. It shows the permissibility of this particular act. Then it said the shahid from the hadith mentioned فَصَلَّى وَلَمْ يَتَوَضَّى, that the Prophet ﷺ, that when he was eating from this mutton, this meat that was cooked, that what he observed, Amr ibn Umayyah, that he had the Prophet ﷺ, that when the salat was called for, that he went and he prayed, and that he mentioned as a form of concern to reiterate the point regarding lam yatawadda. So they show the emphasis in the matter that Islam did not repeat his wudu. So it shows regarding that at one point in Islam, in the Sharia, that the person would renew their wudu from eating things that were cooked. Then after, this was abrogated. So it shows regarding concerning, so that's concerning the final outcome regarding that particular matter. As for a matter to be discussed concerning that, as a general point regarding concerning that it is not obliged, a show regarding concerning matters regarding the ahkam of Islam, that a person try to look at sources that can give reliable information regarding this. And also regarding some of the matters concerning hadith, that is not a condition the person before he can act upon hadith, then he has to look concerning, is this now been abrogated or not? So that's the condition, but there are times the person needs to be aware of this. But the general thing for a common Muslim, that is the thing that he doesn't have to, before he can act upon a hadith, that he has to try to verify, is this matter abrogated or not? So it's just for him to act unless he has been told otherwise. So the person act upon what he have knowledge of until he has been told otherwise, that maybe this matter that you did, it is not what is carried out anymore because it is something been abrogated. But the person, he act according to his knowledge. But it is not a requirement that he has to delve into everything to know, before I do this act, is it abrogated or not abrogated? Then that's not the case. So the person act. Then if he's informed after, then the person act upon the new information. And also, so that's concerned about, and shows also the Sahaba radhiyallahu anhum, that they used to be very keen regarding observing the Prophet ﷺ regarding his action. and how they put those things in context. So it's known concerning so the companion, they will watch regarding how he did things, observe keenly as his action became a part of the Sharia. So he observed concerning that the narrator Amr, that Islam, that he ate from this meat that was cooked, and also he was called to Salah. He went for the Salah to put away those eating utensils, and then Islam, the Prophet Islam, went, prayed, and did not, as I mentioned, he did not repeat his wudu. So show regarding to know he was mindful of this, that it shows that this act of eating of meat does not require the person to renew his wudu. So these are those things that are discussed regarding those matters, regarding those things that nullify the person wudu, of those things that nullify the person wudu, those things that are agreed upon. And then you have certain things that are under discussion, and certain things that used to be practiced but they're not practiced. So concerning nawaqil wudu, it falls under those different categories, things that became that agreed upon, and also things regarding nawaqil wudu that are things that are under discussion between the ulama, and there's things that they kind of somewhat agree that those things now are not applied. Aywa. And also it showed the permissibility concerning eating of mutton. So regarding concerning that, said these are the clear fawaid from the hadith. It showed the permissibility concerning of eating of meat and of mutton. So it showed that the Prophet Islam concerned that he ate from different things. So he ate from meat. Also he ate different thing. Showed that Islam regarding that he wasn't of those so show that these things are all permissible to be done, and the person not to make forbidden upon himself those things which is halal. But a person sometimes may not eat of those things based upon sometimes personal preference, where a person may have regarding certain matters, but he doesn't make it haram upon others. So a person might have certain things that is as a personal preference that person may choose, but it's not for the person to make something which is halal haram upon others. But even though he may not, and those things regarding those things which is mubah. So that's concerning of those matters.
Qala Ma'allif, rahimahullah, chapter 39, rinsing one's mouth with water after eating as-sawiq without repeating ablution. Hadith number 158, narrated by Suwaid ibn Nu'man radiallahu anhu, in the year of the conquest of Khaybar, I went with Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam till we reached Sahba, a place near Khaybar, where Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam offered the Asr prayer and asked for food. Nothing but as-sawiq was brought. He ordered it to be moistened with water. He and all of us ate it, and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam got up for the evening prayer, Maghrib, rinsed his mouth with water, and we did the same, and then offered as-salah without repeating the ablution.
So regarding concerning this hadith, and also before we go to that hadith, then Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, when he discussed this hadith, he kind of somewhat mentioned regarding concerning that, of those hadith that were mentioned regarding concerning that the Prophet Islam have said regarding concerning eating of certain type of meat, to mention regarding concerning that, so you have to say that he mentioned that initially this matter was something which was regarding concerning that that Islam commanded people that they should perform wudu if they ate anything that touched fire, meaning something that was cooked. So that initially that the Prophet Islam commanded that the person to renew, to make wudu if he had ate something that had touched fire, meaning that thing was cooked. Then he mentioned, and then eventually that rule was removed. That rule was removed, and it called concerning of the bab of nasikh wal mansukh. So it falls under those things that are considered to be nasikh wal mansukh. We find a certain ahkam of Islam that initially they were carried out, but then later on the rules change. Names of those things, and you have even books that are specific on this topic. So you have certain books that are specific on those topics. So you find a person who's a faqih, or if it's concerned a person who give fatwa, then also they will kind of somewhat read alongside concerning the books regarding that will explain those things that are said to be of the bab of nasikh wal mansukh. So they are aware of these things that does occur regarding some hadith. So it doesn't mean the hadith are in conflict. So as mentioned that before, that they had to make wudu if anything was cooked, then after that rules was removed. That's not a case concerning that. It's a conflict between hadith. It's just putting each hadith in their proper context. So at times the person may have to either can combine regarding many hadiths. Some may be saying something, but this may be the root. This may be because of at one point that was the practice, then later on that changed. And you have certain rules that the fuqaha and the usuliyin are put in place kind of somewhat to identify this. So sometimes that so you have certain rules that are in place regarding how to identify regarding a matter is said to be abrogated. At times you have clear texts that will clarify this, and sometimes there's no clear text. So the person tried to see how he can unify the hadith. So of those ways is saying that some hadith before used to be of one thing, then later on that rule it changed. But at times, sometimes from the fuqaha, they go overboard on this topic. At times, that they may go overboard on this particular topic. But overall, regarding concerning the importance of the person being able to can identify regarding of those things that are said to be nasikh wal mansukh, what fall into this category regarding a nasikh wal mansukh. And you find a concern that as-salat, as the thing that relates to salat, also regarding as-siyam, that at one point, especially concerning salat and siyam, that in the early days, that what were the practice, some of those things change. In salat, in the early days, in the initial days of salat, that a person could speak in salah normally. Then that changed. Concerning in going into a ruku, it was not as exactly how we did. A person could put his hand in between his legs. So some of those things they change, and so the person has been aware of those changes. So the thing that's said to be the thing which is mansukh, then those things are not practice. So the thing that have been abrogated, then those things are not the practice. The person becomes is not for the person to apply those things, because those things are now not applicable. Maybe the hadith is authentic, but the fact that it sounds something been abrogated is not for the person to act upon this, because those things that are now those rules are not applied. So the Muslim or the person being able can make those distinctions and apply and put them in their right context regarding nasikh wal mansukh. Then I mentioned regarding concerning the hadith that he mentioned next regarding the Prophet Islam, regarding that Islam was in a journey, in a trip, with a place concerning Sahba, which is a place close to Khaybar. So it's a place which is close to Khaybar. And then of those things that he mentioned, وَهِيَ أَدْنَى خَيْبَرَ فَصَلَّى أَصْرَ. So they pray Salatul Asr. And I mentioned concerning Am al-Khaybar, based upon that, Khaybar, of those main events that occur concerning that, Khaybar took place that particular year. So it became the year it was noted that Khaybar took place. So it became referred to as Khaybar. Then I mentioned regarding that, again, concerning to know that he asked concerning Azad, Awzad, regarding concerning things that they are brought with them. فَلَمْ يُؤْتَى إِلَّا سَوِيق. So they brought him concerning as-sawiq, which is this thing that they ate. Then he alayhi salam, فَأَكَلَ رَسُولَ السَّلَامِ وَأَكَلْنَا. So they ate from this, and also the Prophet alayhi salam also ate alongside with the companions. So it shows regarding that, that he alayhi salam, that he would sit and eat with the companions. So they show concern that is humility, that at times that he alayhi salam didn't mind eating with others, as in this particular case. But also as to be discussed later regarding concerning that eating with others is not like eating by yourself. So eating alongside with others means everyone eating together from the same plate. That have also its own ahkam. That when a person eat by himself, so of those things, eating with others, of those things, and especially concerned that that the person be mindful that there's a different manners. He has to be mindful of the manners to be observed when eating with others. So of those things, the person eat from that which is in front of him. The person eat from that which is immediately in front of him. And also regarding the person that the person regarding concerns that other person put things in his mouth, to be mindful, not to put his hands down into his mouth and then put it back in the food with eating with others, then that is unacceptable behavior. So that type of behavior, the person will be mindful regarding eating with others, that is licking his finger, then put it back into the food with others, and then eat again. Then that's so those are the things the person should try to avoid. Those type of behavior the person try to avoid regarding eating with others. And the benefit eating others, you see, you get to see people also there, a part of their character when it comes to food. So you see, concerning eating with others, you get to see the person also, aspect of the person's character. So the general thing regarding that, the hadith as a shahid, regarding concerning that man madmada, that Islam concerning that for madmada, mamadna. Then I mentioned that the Prophet Islam, that he washed his mouth. So madmada, in this case concerning washing the mouth. So that's concerning washing of the mouth after eating. A discussion between the ulama regarding so that's concerned, so that an example set by him regarding concerning of those things that relates to the etiquettes concerning eating, that after the person have eaten, then the person should wash his hands and his mouth. Some of the ulama dislike the person washing his hands, unless in a case that there's things to be washed. But the general thing concerning a person that is a practice of washing of the hands and the mouth. So the person regarding that wash his hands and his mouth, and most of the hadith can somewhat clarify regarding washing of the mouth. And it's been mentioned ثُمَّ صَلَّى وَلَمْ يَتَوَضَّى. So again, concerning the shahid from the hadith, that he washed his mouth, regarding concerning that the food that was sitting down to wash it out separate. Then he later mentioned فَصَلَّى. So before he went and prayed, that after eating, that he washed his mouth. Then after he went and prayed, and again concerning, no, he did not renew his wudu. So that's concerning the shahid from the hadith, that he did not, as I mentioned, ثُمَّ صَلَّى وَلَمْ يَتَوَضَّى. So again, the narrator want to clarify regarding that. It is not that of those things that nullify the person wudu, that after eating. So eating things that have been cooked, have been roasted, that the person is not required for the person to renew his wudu, as that was before the practice then, but then this change. And also these matters, that's concerning those particular matters. So concerning that, as for a person, so that's concerning what became the established practice. Regarding concerning that, then that was practice of, yes, it would be done. Then after that change, so the person, he goes with the final practice. The person, he goes with the final practice. And it shows regarding that, Suwaid ibn Nu'man, who is the narrator of this hadith, also again that, we mentioned that the Prophet concerning everything that he did, people were very observant, because they knew concerning his practice became something that they want to imitate his practice. So of the things concerning of the thing that he did, for the person to know that it becomes a part of the sunnah to imitate him and to do whatever he did. Of those things that he did may be classed as being wajib, a must to be done, but we should not go in opposite to what he did. And there's things that the Prophet ﷺ did that is said to be mustahab. It is thing that is preferred to be done. But overall, a Muslim he tries to apply as much of the wajibat as to be done, the sunan as much as possible. So a person get at least concerning ittiba' as-sunnah or muwafaqat as-sunnah. So, and also the reward for doing of these things. So, as the ulama someone will mention, that a person may not do something with the established sunnah. The person may not do something that is said to be a established sunnah. They mention that that person, what he lose fatat al-fadila, that a person, he has misconcerned fadila, concerning reward for doing that thing. And second, adam al-muwafiq li-sunnah. And also the second thing that he miss is not comply with the sunnah in its complete sense. So that shows concerning the importance of al-ittiba' as-sunnah. So also they show regarding concern that that is the Vaqama ila Maghrib. So Islam concerned that also they said from this hadith, it shows concerning that Islam perform Asr and Maghrib with one wudu. So they show that concerning repeating of wudu for each salat is not something which is wajib. And that the person can pray numerous salat on one wudu. So as long as the person of wudu, he can pray numerous salat, not restricted to every salat, then he has to perform a new wudu. Also, he showed from a hadith regarding concern that a person who is traveling, that a person also tried to prepare himself regarding if he needs whatever that other thing that he needs for his travel, and to make things as easy regarding his food and the mode of transport for the person to also make sure those things are in place. And that doesn't go against concerning having tawakkul ala Allah. So this doesn't. That's the cat. Okay. So this doesn't go against concerning tawakkul Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The person has somewhat prepare himself for his travel. He makes sure that have a place to sleep. Also the person have a way to a mode of transport. And also he has other preparations of food, know how to get food. So all those things that said the part concerned that he has when he travel, that he ensured that those things were in place. So the person not to travel and he has nothing. He says, "No, ana tawakkal Allah." Then tawakkal Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't mean the person put himself in a situation that he has to put himself in unnecessary burden and difficulties. So that's concerning the hadith that he mentioned, hadith of Maymuna. Is the cat? Ah. Okay, next hadith and we
قال المؤلف رحمه الله hadith number 159 narrated by Maymuna radiallahu anha. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam ate a piece of mutton from the shoulder region and then offered the salah without repeating ablution. Chapter number 40.
Aywa. So that's the second hadith of that chapter where the general practice of the author, the one who made the Muqtasar, Zabidi, that also he tries to kind of someone for each chapter put one or two hadiths. But the main, at most cases, that he use one hadith. And as we mentioned that concern this Muqtasar, that of those things that he kind of somewhat, he tries to only mention a hadith al-marfu'a. So he mentioned only hadith marfu'a, meaning concern those hadith go back to the Prophet ﷺ. So of those things that he tries to stick with, and also he can somewhat try to reorganize the hadith accordingly, but he tries to stick to the chapter heading of Imam Bukhari rahimahullah and mention either one hadith or two depending on the situation regarding each chapter. As concerned then then again concern the hadith again regarding concern this matter regarding hadith of Maymuna in the Katifa, that it's something concerning from the katif concerning from the shoulders. ثم صلى ولم يتوضأ. And again that he prayed and did not repeat his wudu. So he made salah and did not repeat his wudu. So it shows regarding concerning that this practice became now the established practice. And many narrators have mentioned that one does not need to renew one's wudu after eating something that has been cooked or things are cooked meat. So that's concerning the practice became the established practice. So from the hadith, it shows a person who may be eating at times that he can, in a process of eating, stop eating and go and make his salah. So the person can so sure that person can. And as we said regarding concern, we're coming up to Ramadan, that of those things concern the person, if he has to finish eating, especially concerned in the morning, then wash his mouth and then go and pray. As we mentioned regarding concern the matter that we discussed concerning that eating after the adhan. So eating after the adhan, we discussed that in one of the previous lessons in the week regarding that that's not from the sunnah. To eat after the adhan, as the hadith regarding that is da'if. The hadith, and we discussed that in detail. So for a person there, and even the person want the hadith to be authentic, not that a person do certain things that there may be discussion, that you might find that people might understand that it could be a heated discussion for people to do certain things. So a person also certain things that I said may draw our attention, and question that be prepared to be able to you can respond to those questions. In a sense of you have studied that matter well. So of those things that may occur, for example, and some of those things may be justifiable. That, for example, the adhan can be called many ways, several ways, isn't it? Now, so the person does, so at least you, the person doing it, you are aware and can explain if you are asked. Especially to a group of people who those things are unknown to them. It's strange to them. Sometimes they be asking not that they want to argue, or that they do it in, that's the word I'm trying to find, that they're trying to be rebellious. But sometimes they are unfamiliar with that thing. So you're doing something which is, for them, which is strange, and they're not familiar with you. If you do so, be ready to can explain yourself. So you have certain things that we said it is justified that it can be done different ways. Of those things we just mentioned, the adhan being called different ways. But most people maybe what is known to them is one particular way. Of those things that may occur, they understand that a person can explain themselves regarding concerning that matter that relates to. I have certain things that people, if the people see doing it, they might have issues with you doing that thing. And of those things, regarding concern that eating after the adhan in the morning, fajr, for suhoor. So a person may owe that something is necessary. I believe that the person, or that the ulama who authenticate those hadith, them, I'm with that. But then be prepared that you can explain. And be ready concerning that discussion. And sometimes those things become eaten because a person might be seeing you something which is, they see it as, it's time for, the dawn is now entering, you're still eating. When you're supposed to be observing siyam. So the person will be able to explain himself and take what comes with that. And also the person can somewhat be mindful concerning, how those people view me. A person might do something that the people that around you, they may not hold you to a certain standard where they take what you're saying. Even if I can explain, they don't see of that stature or they might take to what you're saying easily. So the person to bear those things in mind. Because even doing that act, of example, the person believes that something this is allowed, it is what? Mustahab. Or at least sunnah, or the least mubah. Not even say mustahab, it is least mubah. Having that heated discussion with another Muslim, that sometimes it may lead to people getting a bit physical. Is that needed? Is that needed? Someone said the person will use hikmah regarding situation and circumstance. So if things get physical, get a bit loud, rowdy, then the person can someone do which is that would lessen those problems. And that's from hikmah. Not to bring unnecessary problem upon yourself and others. Because sometimes the Muslim yahtaj ila ta'aleem, that those who do not know, that sometimes they see sometimes somewhat is strange to them, it's very difficult for them to take to this. So sometimes just to educate, and we said the people either before or during, but depending on how you approach it. So you have those matters, and also don't concern that person that and also for the person who want to get into these matters, the aqwal of the ulama on that matter. What have been said for both sides. So you know where the people are coming from, where this person is coming from, or that person is coming from. You might have a particular view, which is a one view. You only know your view, but you don't know the other view. So at certain matters, for a person in opening certain doors, or certain matters that is open for discussion, that that discussion well. That that discussion well. Or you have a good idea of that discussion, you are familiar with the discussion. So if a person approach you, you can understand where they're coming from, and then you can explain your perspective. But if the person does not know the other side, you think there's only one side, that we're upon the sunnah, we're upon the haqq, you don't know, and I'm going to teach you. But maybe the person where he's coming, the person opinion, maybe it has a point. And we look into how many things that we have looked into and found that maybe that person have a point. And as we said, because a lot of stuff that we have taken in certain matters, it has been more so from our side, a one-sided view. Sir? One-sided, in a sense of we haven't seen the matter in its full detail or full discussion. But we have accepted certain view as the hadith is authentic, Sheikh Fulan said it, so I'm doing it. and Sheikh Fulan is an Imam, and we give him all the titles to prove that he's a person who's credible, and that may be the case. But maybe the matter is more than how we know it. And there's matters like this. There's matters like this. That if we were to look in the matter further, then we'll find out maybe we didn't know anything. There's things that if we were to tell you, you'll find that you didn't know much. Or we don't know. What we know maybe needs to be reviewed. But we'll leave it at that, inshallah ta'ala. Tomorrow you'll hear some of those things. Inshallah ta'ala. So said inshallah ta'ala we done. So the shahid from the hadith concerning that, the matter regarding this hadith is regarding that the matter concerning the early days, that certain practice were performed, then after certain things change. But regarding concerning researching these matters for the person to know, that is fall under what they call the bab of nasikh wal mansukh. So these things means that the person though, the thing that was the previous, the earlier practice, now it's been removed. It's not to be practiced. So the old thing is not what is to be practiced. The person who does the thing, it may be authentic, it has to be authentic for it to be considered for nasikh wal mansukh. That thing have been abrogated, then that practice now is done with. But it still remain in the books of the ulama, it still remain as a practice, still remain, but that practice is not to be done. So the person knows how to make those distinctions between things that were and things that came after. So that inshallah ta'ala will end for today, and see that next week that things will change. So from next Friday and next weekend things will change. So most likely we may not continue this lesson because of the timing and all that. So this may turn out maybe the last until after Ramadan. If anything to be done, that to be done before, either after Asr, but not at this time. Not at this time. So we can somewhat see what can be worked out or what can be done. But as for this lesson at this time, then today will be the last until after Ramadan. Wabillahi ta'ala tawfiq. What time is it? Or Islam changed?